I stumbled upon prosecution and absolutely love it. My career path began with the field of music. I'm a pianist and wanted to be a jazz and gospel pianist, and went to law school to avoid work. I knew a lot of musicians that were unemployed, and I wanted to be able to manage my music career. So I studied or took some extra courses in entertainment law, expecting to pursue my music and just kind of have the heads up on the business part of my music career. Did that in Washington, D.C. for about 3-4 years. I was kind of bored with managing myself. Came to Washington State to seek opportunities, employment opportunities. Kind of stumbled upon prosecution, and again, thought it would be a 5-year trial experience, and it's been 18 years and a wonderful ride. I think mentoring, and my mentors have been informal mentors. They've been people that have kind of invested themselves in what I do and my interest. Former employers. Dennis Flanagan was my first employer, and he knew I had a law degree out of Washington, D.C., Howard University. And Dennis took it upon himself to make sure as I worked with him that I was connected with the Criminal Justice Committee, which he was on. And I got to know lawyers and judges and get an idea of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. So his investment in my interest helped me, again, meet people that I needed to know, help those people get to know me. And I got a call from John Lattenberg's office to come and consider prosecution. It was a life-changing experience. It was wonderful. Again, I was a musician, and that wasn't paying the bills. Dennis Flanagan gave me an opportunity to be his legislative assistant. And again, from there, just making the bank so that I could pay some bills and get on my feet. His connection for me with lawyers, and that was the private sector as well as government sector, once I passed the bar, I was very well connected with attorneys and judges in Pierce County who knew what my interests were because of the different committees we'd sat on and kind of got to know each other. So I believe Mr. Flanagan was very instrumental in pivoting me from a legislative assistant, where I did a lot of work with constituents, which I loved because I'm a people person. But going from that to becoming a practicing lawyer was huge. Well, once I started practicing with the prosecutor's office, I connected with the Pierce County Minority Bar, which was a group at that time. I think we started off with about 15 minority attorneys who just decided that Pierce County was a very small place and there was not a lot of diversity represented amongst the bar. So they were trying to figure out back then how they could connect and network themselves. Getting in there, meeting James Buckley, Carl Williams, I'm trying to think, Sergio Armijo was one of the first ones, Steve Burgess, Gina Duncan, a lot of people there, again, in Pierce County trying to figure out for themselves how they could mentor each other and how they could promote diversity. So my getting connected with them helped me kind of find my path, and it was just a natural flow from there. That's an interesting question because I'm not sure in which ways I actually mentor. I know that I love people. I love people that have chosen the legal profession as a path. And I think more so because it was happenstance for me. I stumbled upon it and love it. So I do have a passion for those that are interested or think they're interested in kind of helping them see how wonderful and how fulfilling and in-depth a legal profession is. So it's, again, another natural progression. I love people. I find that I really love my chosen profession. And it's kind of infectious. When you like what you do, you want others to like it. The people that think they may like it, you want to show them the positive sides of it, as well as the downs, because you want them to be prepared. But it's a high to get other people involved and interested in the legal profession as well, and particularly minorities. I come from Birmingham, Alabama, Washington, D.C., where there is a large minority population. When I got to Pierce County, when I came to Washington, it's just the reverse of what I grew up with and was accustomed to. So to get a jury pool, and there was some of my first jury pools back in 91, 92, I don't know that I had any minorities in those pools. That was huge for me, because for the first time I was talking to a group of, at that time, primarily older, retired, military-trained white males, some females that had been housewives, and I struggled with my identity as a black woman standing before them, and had to really put in place that I was there to present a case, and it was not a matter of color of skin. And I don't know whether it was their hang-up or my hang-up, or both. But that was a huge reality check for me, that I was talking to a group of people who were meeting me for the first time and seeing me and probably judging me based on how I presented. So for mentees coming through, I think what helped me get over, and I would advise to others, to make sure you go in the courtroom and you're prepared, that you know what your case is, you know your facts, you know your witnesses, be aware of your audience. I was startled to see a jury pool completely full of white people. I could not let them know how startled I was, so that was an on-the-spot adjustment to make. Wow. But you keep moving, you keep trekking through it, and you keep doing what you know is correct. And being prepared helped me get through the hurdle, because I was not stumbling over facts or issues. I just had to deal with, again, the reality of, okay, they're not like me, and will they believe me? The fact that I didn't have role models, that I didn't have mentors, was huge. I didn't know any lawyers. I didn't know any professionals, period. I grew up in the 60s. The profession, the chosen profession for a black child, a black woman, was to be a teacher or a nurse. I was not good in science, so that was not an option. I thought I would teach. And I love the idea of teaching, because I had some great professors in college. I had some great teachers in high school, so teaching was going to be my option. But I love piano so much. Piano was my passion, so I was torn between being a pianist or being a teacher. I remember walking from the library one day, and a man on the street walked by and asked me, was I a lawyer? I was in high school. I thought that was the most ridiculous comment, because clearly I was a teenager walking with a notebook from the library, and I don't know who this guy was. He was just a stranger on the street, and I never thought about being a lawyer. So I'm like, no, I'm not a lawyer. And I walked right past him thinking, what an idiot. And then when I was in college, I went to Berea College in Kentucky. As I was about to graduate again, I was going to consider teaching or piano. Those were my options. Those are the two things I was good at. And a professor, Berheidi, who was a political science professor who I never had a class with, called me into his office right before graduation and asked me had I ever considered law school. And I never considered law school, so I answered and told him no. But I immediately thought, when he asked me that in 1984, I thought about this stranger on the street in Birmingham asking me, was I a lawyer? Kind of connected the dots, but wasn't interested. I was about to graduate from college, and I just wanted to find my something next. He suggested that I take the LSAT. He helped me prepare for the LSAT. I took the LSAT. I think I barely passed it, but I passed it. You know, for someone who wasn't interested in the law, I thought that was pretty good. I applied to a law school, got accepted, did my thing. But the obstacle was, again, not knowing. The obstacle for me was not knowing what my path would be, not knowing a lawyer, not having a mentor. What is the law? That was huge because I was learning from scratch. So again, I think, to go back to one of your previous questions, I think that I do enjoy and love mentoring because, again, I came from so much of nothing to this wonderful profession that it is passionate for me that I get others involved and interested in the practice of law. Just opening up opportunities, you know, making things available. With Professor Berheide was saying, hey, have you ever thought about practicing law? Have you thought about taking the LSAT? Have you tried? Those are opportunities that I wouldn't have even imagined coming from where I came from in the 60s and the early 70s. Flanagan giving me a job and saying, hey, have you met this judge? Have you met this attorney? Do you know this person? Hey, work with me on this committee. Just getting me involved, thinking outside of the box was huge for my informal mentors. And I've kept connected with all of them, with Professor Berheide at Berea, with Dennis Flanagan. And staying connected too. Staying connected is a big plus in those relationships. Mentoring for me is more about relationships and opportunities. It's crucial for me outside of my work, outside of my family, that I have those relationships. It gives me energy. It encourages me to continue. So you make the time, you know, the same way you get up early in the morning and exercise, or you have your special devotion. The people that you connect to or you connect with, you maintain those relationships. So you find the time, you make the time. I think a real opportunity to be honest and open with someone. There are things that happen on the job or things that happen with family that sometimes are so personal and so intimate, you don't have that outlet, or you can't be as open sometimes. To have a mentor, for instance, if they're struggling, to be able to hear their struggle, it helps me put things in perspective. If they have a triumph, then it also helps me, again, to kind of shift the focus off of me to what their need is. And I think conceptually, as an attorney who wants to make an impact in the world, we are our brother's keepers. So I can, on my work or in my family life, I can get bogged down with what Diane needs or what Diane wants. When I'm with the mentor, and whether that's a legal mentor or just others in the community, I get to focus on what their needs are and what they want, what their strengths or weaknesses are. And I grow from that. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's a very helpful relationship where I'm not focused on Diane, but you get to focus on some real needs in the community or real needs of that person, and it gives me some strength. Being involved, being out there in the community, you know, kind of putting your finger on the pulse. What are the needs? With the Minority Bar Association in Pierce County, we're a larger organization than the numbers show up at the meetings, but knowing who the attorneys are, being aware that new attorneys are coming into your community, into your area, getting to know them, connecting them to the important people that they need to know, that's just so invaluable. Just, again, being involved, knowing what's going on, and helping others be involved and know what's going on. I may not work for that one young attorney coming in, but I'll know somebody that can connect her or him to that somebody else. So being involved is a big plus, I believe. Do it. I mean, there's not a lot. There's not a lot more out there to be said to find your passion or what one thing you're passionate about. I think if you like people and you like the concept of institutions and how our society works, there's going to be an area of law that'll keep you interested. I guess within the practice of law, the significance of having more diversity is that whole element again of being able to relate to the persons that are feeling or experiencing the injustices. And I think it goes even beyond just the lawyering. The idea of having legal assistance, of having paralegals that are also minorities. When a person of color comes into your law office, they want to at least be able to relate. And it doesn't mean that you have to be so ethnic in what you do, but to have some kinship that I relate to you. Again, when I walked into my first jury and it was Lily White, I was almost thrown off my game just because I couldn't relate to the persons that were my audience. You compound that with I'm having a legal problem and I walked into a system and I can't relate to anybody there, and more importantly, they can't relate to me. Doesn't mean we've got to be best of friends, or I'm going to hook a sister up, or I'm going to help a brother out, but at least understanding that you have some similarities to me, and we may not communicate it, but I can look at you and know that you've experienced at least some of the things I've experienced. Things helps bring issues to bear. There are lots of matters that go unreported in our Hispanic communities, in our African American communities, in our Latino communities, in our Pacific Islander communities, because they just don't trust the system. We can establish trust by having persons of like ethnicities and skin colors or dialects within the legal system. So I think it's very important that we diversify. Absolutely, absolutely. I think it would be important to be open. Professor Berheide, who came to me as a mentor, was a white male. And I think he was a little more privileged than I was. But when he spoke to me, he really made me believe I could do it. And he didn't just say, have you thought about law school? He says, have you thought about law school, and do you want to take the LSAT? Well, what's the LSAT? He was able to provide me the information what the LSAT was. He had already done his homework, so when he came to me offering me an opportunity, he had done his research. He was willing to help me, and he did coach me for the LSAT every day. I don't remember how many months I would go to his office after class, but he made himself available. And while he hadn't taken the LSAT, he had studied, he'd gotten the books, and he helped me prepare for the LSAT. And not only did he help me prepare for the LSAT, but he helped me get transportation to get to the testing in Lexington, Kentucky, where I went. So I would say if you're going to mentor someone that's underrepresented, and of a different ethnicity, make sure that you're willing and ready to do the entire cycle of the help. He didn't take me fishing. He taught me how to fish, and he was there to walk me through the process, and I can't thank him enough. I still email him, and I've let him know that he was just my angel. He was my way out of real Southern poverty, which I had found myself in, and kind of a hopelessness. I still play jazz piano, and I know that's there for me. But I've got a steady job where I do get to help people and impact lives, and that's worth $1 million all by itself. I think that if we pull off our own mask that we get beyond ourselves and to just the real basics of our humanity, that we'll have the interest. We'll recognize we are, and maybe I've said it before, we are our brother's keepers. We do owe something to those around us to encourage, to uplift. And a part of that is just kind of getting to the core of who you are and the things that you value without the concept of who's looking or who's watching or what do I gain from this. And again, step away from yourself and just be in a position where you are wanting and willing to be vulnerable and give to others. And I think that becomes a natural flow of, I don't care what the color of your skin or your sexual orientation. You love the law, I love the law. Let me get you to that passion, regardless of the outer person or the outer being. It's your passion for the law connects with my passion for the law, and we are kindred spirits in that. And because I love the law and I love my community so much, I want to help you be a part of that love and that expansion of the community. So, yeah, just getting beyond ourselves sometimes. I think the first thing for me, I think you, and right or wrong, I'm not sure, but I think you've got to really care about what it is you're doing, and you got to care about people. I think a first step for mentees is kind of figuring out who you are and what it is you want. And that could require a whole lot. I want to be a lawyer. Well, what areas of law do you want to practice? I don't know. Well, what are your interests? So there's some basics that we have to come to the table knowing what are the things I'm interested in? What am I willing to do? What sacrifices am I willing to make? What things can I do? And then just being honest. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that. Oh, I've got no problem with this. I'm very confident in this area. Kind of self-awareness is going to be a big step. And then being honest with your mentor. And I think that, again, you'd mentioned comfortability. I think you've got to have some level of trust with the persons that you're working with. So for me, I expect my mentees to be open and honest with who they are and what things they want. And if they're not sure what they want, then we can, peel some of those layers and help them get to that. But I need honesty first. They should expect us to be people of our word. If I say I'm going to meet you, if I say I'm going to help you, they should be able to count on that. Blank. Open communication. They should expect me to be professional. And there are going to be times where I think they can even expect me to be vulnerable. If I'm being honest with my mentee, we have some weaknesses, and that doesn't mean I'm exposing all of my business, but the profession can sometimes be a tough profession. So I'm going to be honest with them that, every day is not going to be sunshine. It's not going to be perfect. So they can expect me to be honest, the same expectations I have from them. They can expect me to be professional, candid with them, and again, open in conversation, available for them. I don't know that I've had the situation, but I know that I don't get along with everybody, and everybody, wouldn't get along with me. My style of doing things may be different from another person's style. So again, knowing a lot of people, networking, would help me. For instance, if some young attorney came in 24 and just sharp as a whip and very energetic, one, I'd love to work with them. But if I saw that they would connect more easily to a younger attorney, then I know some younger attorneys that I connect them with. Maybe they want to go out to the club and hang out a little bit and unwind before they get into their, I'm not a clubber. So, so those personalities, those kind of quirks could make a difference in how relatable you are or not with a mentee. So it's kind of knowing who's out there, having the resources such that, hey, we don't connect, but I know someone I think that you would get along well with. Let me introduce you to that somebody else. Consistency, being consistent. Um, I think with the mentor-mentee relationships that you need to be dependable. You know, your mentee needs to know that they can count on you. Um, so dependability, reliability, that you're reliable, that you're a person of your word, um, having some connections, and if you're wanting to be a mentor and you don't have connections, get connected. Mentoring works. It just connects people with people. Once we start connecting, we do become a community. And in becoming a community, we can kind of decide and shape what we want our profession to become. And that's the good and the bad, but we decide as a community. And boy, can't think of anything better than that. So, thank you so much.